Hey, good morning, Colonial. Surprise. Many of you are you're thinking, this doesn't look like Mark Potter. I'm your substitute, Mark Potter, for this morning, for your Devo. And, um, but Mark and I have a lot of things in common. So Mark and I, we both have four kids. We both were in student ministry. Mark started out in student ministry. I'm still in student ministry, and the best thing about Mark and I is we now have the same haircut, and so we've got that going in common. And so Mark is much wiser, much better looking than me, but I hope to fill his shoes well, and just happy to come here. My name's Adam, in case you guys, I didn't say that. My name's Adam Reck. I'm the Director of Student Ministries at Colonial. And so as your substitute, Pastor Mark, I'm happy to be sharing here as we are going through Proverbs as a church and just kind of reading a proverb a day and everything. It's been good. I've been reading the Proverbs just kind of when I wake up in the morning. I just kind of grab my phone, and it's the first thing I do, kind of help me wake up and everything. And my middle son, sometimes he'll jump into bed with me, and we were reading today's proverb, and it starts off with it's stupid. You're stupid if you don't like correction, basically. And he was like, "That's a bad word, Dad." I said, "No, it's not really a bad word. It's just not a nice word. And we don't want to call people stupid, but the Bible is describing stupid actions." And so it's always fun when you get little kids and you're getting into the word. And sometimes the Bible is harsh, and sometimes we have to explain it to them. But it's good. And so today we're going to be looking at Proverbs chapter 12, and I'm going to really be focusing on verses 12 through 19. With this being a new year, I know that I don't know how many of you are resolution makers or goal kind of setters for the new year and everything. I typically try not to kind of get into the just caught up in all that and everything, but just with things starting anew, I always do kind of think like, well, maybe I should focus on this more and everything. And I remember one time somebody gave me just advice in setting goals and setting resolutions, and they said it's better you always want to write it down, and there's something that happens as you write it down, as you speak it out into existence, your mind and your body kind of, you're more apt to keep that goal or that resolution. And so today in Proverbs, that's kind of a little bit, not with goal setting or resolutions, but the idea of as we speak things out, they do have an impact in ourselves and in the people around us. And so Proverbs 12:12 starts out like this: "Whoever is wicked covets the spoil of evildoers, but the root of the righteous bears fruit. An evil man is ensnared by the transgression of his lips, but the righteous escapes from trouble. From the fruit of his mouth a man is satisfied with good, and the work of a man's hands come back to him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. The vexation of a fool is known at once, but the prudent ignores an insult. Whoever speaks the truth gives honest advice, or gives honest evidence, but a false witness utters deceit. There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment." And so as I was reading through this proverb this morning, and even yesterday when I got the call from Mark to fill in. Mark's preaching, by the way, on Sunday, and so that's why he couldn't be here this morning. This Proverbs, as we've been reading through the Proverbs, as you read through them before, there's kind of this compare and contrast of like the wise man versus the foolish man, and here Solomon is talking about our words and the words that come from our mouth, and this the way, just kind of this here in verse 13. He says, an evil man is ensnared by the transgression of his lips, but the righteous escapes from trouble. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I try to focus on the righteous because I want to be the righteous one, and disregard kind of what the evil man or the fool is doing. And Solomon's giving a warning of don't be like this fool. And so I think if we pay attention to the evil man is ensnared by the transgression of his lips. And the transgression, is any time a wrong is done. It's a transgression. And so we can be ensnared, caught up in the wrongs that our lips say. Now, the first thing that comes to mind, if you're like me, is like lying. And there's a lot of stuff about telling the truth and everything in here. But there's also another part to it, I believe. And we talk about, because the next verse is, from the fruit of his mouth, a man is satisfied with good. And so when the Bible talks about fruit and the fruit of good works, it's not just necessarily telling the truth, but it's also just producing goodness and saying good things. And so what we have here is an evil man is ensnared in transgressions of his lips. We can get caught up in lying. We can get caught in a lie. But sometimes when we use hateful speech and hateful talk, and further on down when he says, there is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. We have to pay attention to what our words are and what our words say and how we use them. And are we using them to harm, or are we using them to heal? And I know we are in a difficult time as a nation, as a country, as a church. I use the church as the Big C church. And a lot of it has to do with the words and the rhetoric that we use with one another. In this time of social media, and where we can put things out there and not really know the repercussions. And we can make post after post, we can share. And the question that we should be asking ourselves is what is this doing? What are the words that we're speaking out into existence? What are they doing, not only to those around us, but what are they doing to us? I find what I love so much about us doing Proverbs and the church giving me a kind of a set routine of like, we're going to read these every day, is when I'm out of that routine and I'm not in the Word and I'm not in prayer, I find that the things that I'm putting my eyes on, the things I'm filling myself with, those are the things that start to worry me. They start to gain my attention and everything. And so the same thing goes with our words. The more hateful, fighting, kind of antagonistic words that we use, that starts to have an effect on the person that we are and the person that we're becoming. I think it's why Solomon says, an evil man is ensnared by the transgressions of his lips. It's not just that we're caught in a lie, it's that we can be caught up in the things that we're speaking and the way that we're speaking. And so, we with everything that happened last week at the Capitol, we just as a youth staff this Sunday, we just want to have some time to process with our students and to kind of get them in small groups and kind of hear what's going on and kind of help them to kind of work through this. And I primarily work with middle school, and so we got the middle schoolers together, and like most middle school, it's sometimes when heavy things are happening, there's just they haven't had time to process, or it just seems so far from them. So a lot of discussion was me and my partner Danny talking to them. And I was kind of expecting that. And then as we were recapping with the rest of our staff, I expected, like, wow, I bet the seniors and the juniors, kind of our upperclassmen, they were there the longest. They stayed and talked the longest. And I was like, man, you guys must have had some good discussion. And one of our leaders, John, said they actually, it was the shocking thing was they weren't when the rest of the nation was reacting of like, how could this happen? This is unbelievable. For them, it didn't really even seem like a big deal at first. And they said, and we kind of started talking about that, and it was like they've kind of grown up in this kind of political climate of kind of fighting and strong words and calling out other sides, and we thought that's such a tragic thing that they're kind of expecting this to be commonplace. And so I think that we as a church, as a church body, we need to realize that what we say, what we put out there, it affects us, it affects those around us, and it affects those coming up after us. And so I just kind of want to leave us with, right before the Proverbs, we have the book of Psalms. And in Psalm 141, verse 3, it says, "Set a guard over my mouth, Lord. Keep watch over the door of my lips." We need to ask God to help us with our words. Ask God to help us with our mindset. Ask God to show us and remind us of ways that we can speak to heal, ways that we can speak to build up, and not to tear down, not to fight, but to encourage. So you guys pray with me as I just pray that prayer over us today, that we would be people of peace, people who use our words to heal and not to hurt. Jesus, we thank you for today. I thank you for those that have joined me here online, God. And I just thank you for how you are continually reminding me and showing me of no matter how much I think I've got it figured out, I get to your word and oftentimes I'm reminded, well, what about this, Adam? And so, Lord, remind us today, remind us in those times when we want to lash out and we want to use rash words, that our job isn't to inflict hurt or to get back, but our job is our goal is to present you as glorified, as magnified, as the one who has the answer to all of life's problems, to all of life's struggles. And so, Lord, may what we put out there, may you just be that constant reminder of what the measure and the weight of our words are. And may you help us to be people of peace, who speak peace and not hatred, Lord. We pray this in your name. Amen. Hey, thanks for joining me. And this was fun. I like this. And so I'm gonna try to maybe if I can get the other pastors sick, I can just keep hopping on. I'm just kidding. This was nervous. I was really nervous for the first hour before this even started. So, hey, but thank you for joining me and enjoy reading through the Proverbs with us as a church. And we will see you tomorrow.